Welcome to week 3. So this is the presentation list. Remember, when you log into Wolfden, underneath the calendar is this link right here. This link takes you to the presentation list. We are on week 3, February 13th through the 19th. You will notice, just like last week, I gave you a link to the folder. Once you click in the folder, everything you need for this week will be in there, but I'm going to go over each piece to make sure that you understand the expectations and what each of the documents are inside the folder. So we're going to click on the folder, go to week 3. You're going to notice a lot of documents, right? First of all, example docs. So I'm going to click on that folder. Just like last time, these are not perfect examples. These are just examples from previous students. And I think it helps you to get an idea of what other people have done, because sometimes that will spark an idea for you. And even if you are early childhood, looking at a middle or secondary can help give you ideas. So don't just focus on ones that you think would be in your content area. Branch out and look at all of them to help you get ideas. So that's the example doc folder. Next, you've got this one, which is the Google Doc assignment list. Then you've got your Google Docs project instructions with the rubric. This one is called a create a shortened URL using Bitly. So this one I'm going to go into detail because you'll notice on this doc, it says Bitly and QR code. So I'm going to click on that real quick. And you'll notice old students, this is a shortened URL and a QR code to their Google Docs assignments. So again, I leave these on here because, just like my example doc folder, this gives you somewhere else to go to get ideas. So you can either scan the QR code with your phone and bring it up, or you can click on their Bitly link to get an idea of what their Google Doc project looked like, just to kind of help you. And you will be adding to this doc down at the bottom. To add, you can just click in, well, that one clicked in the, you can just click in this bottom one and go to insert. Nope, you have to right click. So go in this bottom one, right click and say insert row below, and then it will give you one. But typically when you're in a table, if you just tab and keep tabbing, it will keep adding rows, right? That makes it easy. But sometimes, like this, for instance, when the QR code is there, it's hard to click in the box. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I just wanted you to see that there are more examples on that document. All right, so let's get started with the Google Docs assignment list. This I created to help you have it all in one place. This may be helpful for you, may not, just depends on how your brain works. For me, I like to have like a checklist of what all am I doing for this assignment. So first thing is read the project instructions document and the rubric, because that's how I grade you. I think that you have seen that I will bring up the rubric, I will bring up your assignment, and I will assess your work as I'm looking at the rubric. Please use the rubric as your guide. I even saw a couple of students who had assessed themselves using the rubric. That's a great idea, because then if you're assessing yourself, maybe you will catch some things before you actually submit it to be graded. You are creating what's called a student sample, and I'm going to go into detail about that when I get to the instructions in the rubric, but just keep in mind this is a student sample. You are going to use this blue button on your document to share with a peer in your class. In this class, you're going to share your document when you create it, and it'll be with anyone that you would like in this class. When you look at the folder here, there's a Gmail list document. You're going to add your name and your Gmail to that list so that your peers can find you. And it's also linked right here. So find someone in this class. It can be a friend, it can be someone you don't know. You can just shoot them an email and say, hey, would you mind if I share with you? Will you take a look at it? And what you're doing is providing feedback for each other. When you share the document, you can add comments. See, when I come over here to the edge, I can add a comment. So when you click on that, you can add a comment. And that way it notifies the person that you've added a comment in their document. And what I'm looking for is you to provide some constructive criticism, right? Some feedback to say, hey, I was looking at the rubric and I noticed that it said this, but I don't see that in your document. So maybe you should consider adding that, right? Or just any kind of criticism, constructive criticism, right? Nobody's perfect. So I'm expecting to see like a little comment thread whenever I get to your document of you and a peer commenting back and forth on suggestions for your document. Everyone needs to have this. It's a part of the grade. Next, you're going to create a shortened URL using Bitly and a QR code, right? And you can do both of those in the same place. The instructions are linked right here. When you go to Bitly, you'll be able to see how to do it. And Bitly's pretty cool, some pretty cool features for the free version. You can do a paid version, but you obviously don't need that. But the instructions are right here for how to create the shortened URL and the Bitly. I'm sorry, and the QR code. Then you're going to copy both of those into that chart that I showed you. And all of your work is due on Sunday, as usual. And don't forget to check your Twitter list. If you just do one a week, then you'll be caught up. You don't have to worry about trying to do more than one in a week. There were just enough that you do one per week. So this is just a shortened list, quick list to give you an idea of what the expectations are. Now let's take a look at the instructions and the rubric. So this is just like others. You'll have instructions at the top and your rubric at the bottom. So what you're doing for this assignment is you are going to pretend that as the teacher, you've taught some content to your students. And I like to use this simple example of identifying 3D shapes. It's just a simple one that everybody can understand. So imagine you're a teacher. You've just taught your lesson on identifying 3D shapes. Now the assignment that you're giving your students is for them to create a Google Doc, and they can do whatever they want. They can create like a newsletter, a brochure, a poster. It can be whatever they want it to be. And this is you're the student now, whatever you want it to be to demonstrate your knowledge that you just learned about identifying 3D shapes. Okay, so it has to be a Google Doc because the whole goal is that you understand how to use Google Docs. Now, I know that the majority of you are so used to using Word, which I totally understand, but when you become a teacher, schools are using Google and you're going to need to know how to use the Google products. And so it's really important that you understand how to use Google Docs. So you cannot create this in Word and then upload it into your Google Drive and open it as a Google Doc. You cannot do that. You need to create it as a Google Doc. And that is simple enough. If you go into your folder, if you right click, bam, right there, Google Docs. Or if you're in your folder, you can say new Google Docs, right? Super easy. And then you just create it right there in the folder. You don't have to worry about uploading or figuring out where you saved it and getting it into the right folder. It will just be there, okay? So you're creating a Google Doc, newsletter, brochure, poster, don't care what it is. I really don't. It doesn't matter what type of product that it is. But what's important is that it is aligned with whatever standard you chose. So if we go back to the Identify 3D Shape standard, it says identify 3D shapes. So it's important that as the product, it is identifying 3D shapes. Okay, so that's why standards are important because they're using the correct terminology, the correct verb that is appropriate for that grade level. So, one more time, you're a teacher, you've taught the lesson, now you're expecting your students to create this product, and then you're the student creating the product. Okay, and what's so great about this is after you've created this product, when you actually do become a teacher, you could give this assignment to your students and you could have them create this product. and you will have an exemplar that you can show them. You can say, hey, this is what it looks like when I give y'all examples from previous students. Those are exemplars, right? You can have an exemplar to show your students, this is what I'm expecting. So it's really good that you're actually doing the work yourself. Okay, so you go into your grade level, whatever area you are. If you're early childhood, you're pre-K through third. If you're elementary, you're second through sixth. If you're middle, high, you've got a concentration area. PE, you can decide if you want to be elementary, middle, high. Doesn't matter to me. It just has to be within your specific grade level and area is where you choose your standard. All right, next. So you're creating the document from the perspective of a student in your class. That's really important because if you are creating something that is kindergarten, it needs to be on a kindergarten level. If you're creating something that is high school, it needs to be on a high school level, right? So it needs to be grade appropriate, which is actually the next number 2. The document must have an appropriate amount of content based on the grade level of the indicator, right? So I'm expecting it to reflect the grade that it is being used in. The document must completely align with all content in your chosen indicator. So those of you that are like history, sometimes your indicators can get lengthy. You can break out one piece of that if you would like to, and so that it's not so much content. I'm really just looking for one topic, one piece of content for this assignment. So if you have one of those big indicators, just break it down and do one piece of it. But it does need to completely align. Again, for example, if the indicator says identify 3D shapes, then I'm expecting it to identify 3D shapes. Next, demonstrate technology proficiency by achieving the modification or redefinition level of the SAMR model. So remember when you wrote your article reflections, SAMR was one of them, and I'm expecting you to be at those higher levels, modification or redefinition. Okay, I don't want you to substitute, right, or augment this assignment. I'm expecting you to get out of your box, try some things, make it so that it is more technology friendly. Share your document with your peer, just like I said. Put your Gmail on the list so that people can find you. Create a comment thread with suggestions, edits, constructive criticism for collaboration. Make sure you create your shortened URL in Bitly and provide your QR code to the document. And that chart is right there. And then check it for grammatical mistakes. Okay, I've already told you that if there's a squiggly line under it, then it means that it's misspelled. And if you right click on it, it'll suggest what it should be. So check your work. You're going to remember we talked about the ISTE standards. So you are assessing your students based on these standards. You'll see them right down here where they align with this assignment. And remember, this is from the perspective of your students, so keep in mind your target audience whenever you choose your indicator, and make sure that it is appropriate for that level, but don't underestimate. They can do more than you think they can do. So here's your rubric. Content alignment with indicator. All right, so obviously, let's start with proficient. I'm expecting the content of this assignment to be clearly aligned with the indicator that you chose, right? Because I want you to show complete understanding of the indicator. But to get excellent, all right, you have to go to the ISTE standards for students. So we've been talking about the ISTE standards for educators, which is you. But now I want you to go to ISTE standards for students. And I want you to find which standard you think your assignment would be aligned with. So for example, like I'm doing right here, I'm aligning my assignment with the ISTE standards for educators because you are going to be an educator, but your students are students. So go to the ISTE standards for students, the S, read through those, and then all I'm looking for is a statement that says this project is aligned with ISTE standard S whatever number, and tell me why. Why is it aligned with that standard? Okay, that will get you excellent. Next, the technology proficiency. This is your SAMR model. I'm looking for redefinition or modification. Redefinition is excellent, modification is proficient. Okay, you don't want to be down here in the augmentation and substitution. Next, I'm looking for you to exemplify the skills that you're learning in Google Docs, right? So you have to share it, which I showed you up here. You're going to share with someone. You're going to type their email address in there. Y'all are going to create a comment thread right here. So sharing, comments, collaboration. I'm looking for the QR code and the bit.ly, right? So proficient is that you've done all of those things that I asked you to do. Now, proficient plus, this can be frustrating for some students that are my perfectionists that really like to do well on their assignments. Proficient plus is that you have demonstrated a new document skill. What that means is I want you to try something new in Google Docs, something that you didn't know that you could do, right? And I have linked on the presentation list my YouTube channel, playlist, Google Docs. I've put some things in there. I've made some videos about some things that you can do in Google Docs, and I'm going to make a few more videos with some other things. But you could watch those videos. You could get on Twitter, try to find some stuff through educational people, but find something and then tell me what that is. When you've completed your assignment somewhere, type it on the bottom, type it somewhere, tell me what was the new skill that you demonstrated. And then lastly, typos and grammar. Again, if it's got a squiggly line, it's misspelled. Here, look, I'll misspell this right now. Okay, see it's got the red squiggly line. If I right click on it, it says, oh, did you mean that? And you just click it and it fixes it. Okay, so check your work. This assignment is worth 36 points. This whole class is a point system. It's not your typical, make 100 on a test or something. It's a total of points for the whole entire class. All right, so that is your assignment and your rubric. Let's go back to the presentation list. So you've got your folder. This video is linked here. You've got example projects, but you also have more on the QR code and bit.ly chart, remember, because that's linked to students' assignments as well. You've got my YouTube channel for Google Docs to help you learn something new that you can do in a Google Doc. And then over here are the assignments. So you've got your actual assignment, that's the rubric.